Welcome to Advanced Algebra 2 Summer Boot Camp Round 3, Functions and Relations. I'm your host, Mr. Stark, aka Starkulus. Thanks for joining me. And in this lesson, we are going to talk about some background information about points and the coordinate plane, and then we'll work through an activity together called order pairs. Get it? Ordered. All right. I have my calculator screen on. I want to show you a few things. So on your calculator, you could join me. Make sure that it's on and it has some default settings. You could always press second plus 7, 1, 2 to reset. And let's check it out. Okay. Oh, actually, first thing I want to tell you is the Cartesian coordinate system, originally invented by René Descartes. He was a French mathematician, and he was very positive. That's why originally it was only quadrant 1. Positive, just the positive quadrant, x's and y's. So here goes. I am going to my calculator and I'm checking out the graph button. I could also press zoom 6, but I'm going to graph first. And notice I don't have a standard viewing window. So I want to do zoom 6 so that I have that negative 10 to 10 business showing up. And there's the first quadrant. That is the original quadrant, second quadrant to the left, third quadrant down, and then fourth quadrant down on the bottom right. I always remember it based on the way that the sun rises. It rises on the horizon in the east and sets in the west and then comes back around for us. Like we're rotating around the sun, you know, but it looks like that. Now, if you press the arrows, it'll move the cursor to whatever point it is, or the location really, because it's not a point. So that's the origin, 0, 0. And you know, we have x as the horizontal axis, y as the vertical. And again, you know, if you move the cursor, you're only moving that. So if we're working with a line or a curve, you're not finding a point on the curve. You're just a location in space. Okay, so press stat, then edit. We're done with that. We'll go to ordered pairs. How do we enter ordered pairs? Stat edit, and then press enter. And I'm just deleting the points out of there already. And many times our points are kind of big because we're working with data. And all right, so L1 is x, basically, and L2 is y. We could change it if we wanted to, but there's no point usually. So I'm entering 0, 2. So notice on your page at the bottom here that this is the way to get to the list, the way to work with ordered pairs. So 0, 2, and I'll turn on my stat plot, which is second y equals. Press enter on the on, and then you'll see it plotted 0, 2. Excellent. So that's officially a point that's on the between quadrants, on a quadrantal angle type of situation. Now let's say I want to enter another point. I could choose whatever. I'm choosing one from a screen that you'll see in a moment. 3 and then enter, and I have to arrow right. It's a little bit tedious. 6, enter, and then I could graph that. And so that's in quadrant 1. We could have known that based on the number itself because they're both positive values. But then I could even plot some more points if I wanted to. So what I did down here on my screen, graphing ordered pairs, I had 5 points that I plotted, and they just showed up on the graph. So to graph ordered pairs, that's how you would do that. You'd enter them in the stat edit. It's basically the list feature. So you're doing a list. But there are so many different things we could do with lists. We could use statistical analysis, or we could just work with ordered pairs, or we could compare lists as well. We could do multiple lists at a time. So that's all for the background information, and we will now check out the activity called order pairs. Oh, I'm ready for a snack. Let's check out problem 1 on the Texas Instruments activity. Problem 1, ordered pairs, not the fruits. Okay. So jot some things down as we go. For negative 2, 6, the first number, negative 2, is the x-coordinate. And part B, negative 2 comma 6. The second number 6 is the y coordinate. All right, so I don't have a calculator visual because I showed you already how to do some of this stuff, which is basically to turn on your plot and to enter the points into lists. So that's what all this stuff is in the middle here, pressing stat and then enter for edit, and then entering 1 in list 1 and 4 in list 2, and to turn on stat. So let's take a look at number 2 here. And now you could only hear me and not see me. So in number 2, the point 1 comma 4 is in the first quadrant. Wonderful. So let's do a few of these together, and then you'll pause the video and do the rest yourself. So 1, negative 4, which quadrant is that in? So we're going to the right 1 and down 4. So that's in quadrant 4. Part B, in which quadrant is negative 5, 2? Now we could plot this on your calculator. If you like, you could do that. But we're just going on the graph, negative 5 to the left and up 2. So therefore, that is in quadrant 2. So I'll have you do C, D, E, and F together. Pause this, and I'll have the answers for you in a moment. And here are the answers. Okay, now let's take a look at number 3 together, and then we'll finish with the actual pairs activity. So here we go. We are trying to figure out where are the coordinates negative comma positive, meaning the x value is negative and the y value is positive. So again, we don't really need the calculator for this part. We could just think about this one. So let's take a look at this graph on the right, and it shows the x value is negative and the y value is positive, and that's where the cursor is. So actually, that's a really convenient thing. You could just move the cursor up, down, left, right, and see what those values are. So for part A, that quadrant is quadrant 2. Part B, where are the coordinates positive, comma, negative, so we could move our cursor to the right and go down. So that's kind of like part A and number 2. And we can see that we would be in quadrant 4 with that. So you could do C and D, pause, and come back. And here are the answers for C and D. For 4. Okay, the last thing that we'll do on this page, or you'll do, is plot these points. And we have 9 points that you'll plot on the coordinate plane, and this is just by hand. Don't use the calculator for this. Plot them with your pencil on the paper, and there will be a secret message for you. Please enjoy. And pause the video. Problem 2, order pairs. Math is everywhere, students. At the market, the equation y equals 1.5x represents the cost to buy x number of pairs, where y is the cost in dollars. For example, you order 8 pairs. The cost is $12. This could be written as the ordered pair 8, 12. So 8, 12 is basically a solution to that equation y equals 1.5x. Now, do we have to involve math like this and just eating some pairs? Yeah, let's do it. So number 5 says your order came to $3. Basically, you didn't get 8 pairs. You ordered less than 8 pairs. How many pairs did you order? So let's do this together. I like to write a ratio 8:12. And I'm looking for the number that corresponds to 8. So I'll use x. So x:3. And we could do some cross multiplication or this and that, but really we think about how do we get from 12 to 3? We divide by 4. How do we get from 8 to x? We divide by 4. Therefore, the pairs that we ordered 2 of them. Now let's take it a step further. Farther? I don't think it really matters. Let's check out number 6 here. And I'm going to pass it along to myself, who did a screen recording. The audio will sound a little different, so forgive me. Oh, and you'll need your calculator for this to follow along. So here goes number 6. Enter 5 ordered pairs for the cost of ordering pairs using L1 and L2. So if data already exists, arrow up to the top and press enter to clear it. Press clear, then enter. So stat edit, and what that means is if you have data here, that means you go up to the list here and you press clear, not delete, clear, then press enter, and it will clear out your data. If you delete the list, you have to reset your calculator. Bummer. So what we figured out already was that 2 pairs cost $3. So I'm going to enter 2. But I'll keep entering data, 2, 3 pairs, 4 pairs, 6 pairs, and 10 pairs. And you're hearing my mouse click because my audio is together this time. And so the 2 pairs cost $3. That means that 4 pairs cost $6. So 3 must be 4.5, right in between. So 4 is 6, we're doubling 2. If we go from 2 to 6, so triple 2, we have to triple 3, so that's 9. And then if we multiply 2 by 5, that's 10. So multiply 3 by 5, which is 15. So we have our data here, and so we basically just mostly finished 6 except for just plotting it. So we press second y equals to turn our plot on. Enter. Enter again, and this is where you could change the marks, like a little plus sign or the color and stuff like that. I don't really care too much. And then let's press graph. Notice that our data is not in the window. Let's press zoom 6. And we still don't see all of the data. We're missing that 10, 15. Not a big deal, but there's another feature which I kind of like. It's called zoom stat. It changes your window based on the stat data that you have. So that's kind of cool. It just focuses on your data. Number 7. Now let's press y equals, graph the function 1x and y1. So what we're doing is trying to come up with some function that will model the data. And we'll talk a lot more about this in other lessons. So let's enter 1x, that's the variable x, and then we could press graph. Now notice that that doesn't do a good job of modeling the data. So the challenge is coming up with a new line, changing the slope of this line so that it actually does model the data. So if 1 didn't work, well, this data is actually more slopey. It's going up more. So let's change our line to 2. That was too much, so too slopey of a line. So therefore, we might suspect that the line should be 1.5x. I want to show you a little trick right here, not super necessary. We could just type in 1.5x, but let's type 1 and then second delete. We could insert 0.5. So I use that quite a bit, especially if I have long equations I'm working with. Now press graph. Aha! We have basically just modeled the data of the pairs. So we've come up with basically a cost model that you give me any number of pairs that you're ordering, and I will give you the ordered pair or the amount that those pairs cost. Okay, so and what does 1.5 really mean? How does it relate to the problem? Well, 1.5, that slope, is basically the rate or how much you're paying for each pair, $1.50. And that is all we're doing in the calculator for this one. Hey, I just wanted to thank you for pairing up with me to go through this material. I had a great time. Hope you did too. Hope you learned some new tricks, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a bunch.